Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed the introductory unit and had a chance to take a look at the supplementary materials. In this unit, we will delve a little deeper in describing the nature and scope of nature-based solutions to disaster and climate resilience. Nature-based solutions is an umbrella term covering a range of ecosystem-based approaches to tackling different societal challenges. The concept builds on the ecosystem approach, which aims to holistically manage land, water and living resources in a way that promotes conservation, restoration and sustainable use in an equitable way. At the heart of nature-based solution approach is the idea that we should be working with nature rather than against it. More specifically, this means dealing with climate change through adaptation and mitigation strategies, taking care of our planet for the long term through climate change mitigation and environmental management, meeting the needs of people through environmental management and disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation. For each of these aims, there are a number of nature-based solutions. In this course, we will touch upon all of them, but will focus mainly on how nature itself can be used to reduce disaster risk and promote climate change adaptation. As pretty much everyone is aware by now, the main driver of global warming and the resulting climate emergency with which we are faced is greenhouse gas emissions. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions is therefore key and can be achieved in a variety of ways. Some relying on green technologies such as solar panels and wind turbines, others involve cutting back on the amount of energy we use and include initiatives such as mass transit or carpooling schemes. As already noted, nature-based solutions use nature itself to tackle the challenges presented. For example, emissions of carbon dioxide, or CO2, one of the main greenhouse gases, can be reduced by protecting or restoring forests. Trees, like all plants, absorb CO2, taking it out of the atmosphere and sequestering the carbon in their tissue. The preservation or reconstitution of wetlands can also play a vital role in carbon sequestration, especially peatlands, which not only store carbon but also methane, a powerful greenhouse gas, and nitrous oxide.
Nature-based solutions take a variety of forms, including green and blue infrastructure initiatives, such as forest and wetland restoration, climate-smart agricultural, agroforestry, and urban greening. Nature-based solutions can also be combined with gray or built solutions in hybrid initiatives. Finally, nature-based solutions can take the form of soft approaches designed to bring about changes in the way markets and institutions work, people behave, and policy is developed. At this point, it is perhaps worth making the distinction between measures designed to mitigate global warming and those measures designed to help communities adapt to climate change. As we already discussed, climate change mitigation efforts often focus on reducing CO2 emissions or ensuring that CO2 is stored in vegetation and soils. Climate change adaptation, on the other hand, aims to help people by reducing their exposure to hazard events, such as storms and droughts, and/or prepare them for such events.
The Paris Agreement addressed both climate change mitigation and adaptation by establishing targets for reducing harmful emissions and pollution on the one hand and increasing human well-being on the other. A good example of an initiative designed to support progress towards those targets is Europe's Green Deal, which promotes green jobs covering a range of activities including recycling, green construction and the development, installation and maintenance of renewable energy sources and the restoration of ecosystems such as wetland and forests.
Ecosystem-based adaptation initiatives generally focus on long-term adaptation to chronic and irreversible stresses such as gradually warming temperatures, sea level rise, and glacial melting. Employing a range of biodiversity and ecosystem conservation approaches, such initiatives help people adapt to the adverse effects of climate change and mitigate climate-related hazards. They can also focus on improving the livelihoods of local communities, for example, by encouraging the cultivation of drought-resilient crops. Ecosystem-based disaster risk reduction aims to reduce hazard events and/or communities' exposure and vulnerability to them. Disaster risk reduction is typically focused on near-future risks, such as landslides or floods. Such initiatives may involve, for example, the installation of early warning systems, but we can also reduce disaster risk through the planting of trees to stabilize slopes. Ecosystem-based disaster risk reduction addresses both non-climate related events, such as earthquakes and tsunamis, and climate-related events like hurricanes and heat waves as well, as other kinds of hazards. While different, these approaches share an emphasis on ecosystem management, restoration, and conservation, and can be thought of as interventions that are implemented on a hazard continuum that ranges from near-term, often sudden events such as landslides, to longer-term, generally gradual events such as sea level rise. At the project or operational level, they are often indistinguishable. Environmental management is central to both approaches and can be combined with measures that explicitly reduce disasters and climate impacts.
Such interventions have been around for decades, but it's only recently that we have started to emphasize disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation. For example, in the 19th century, extensive deforestation in the Swiss Alps resulted in heavily flooded downstream cities. As a result, massive reforestation programs were instituted to reduce flooding and landslides. So these approaches are not new, but we need them now more than ever. Tried and tested, there are approaches that work and can now be combined with modern technology such as early warning systems to track landslide movement and river height, or they can be combined with climate-smart agriculture to increase people's resilience. Hopefully this brief summary has given you a sense of the power and diversity of the nature-based solutions available to us in tackling the climate challenges we face. In the next video, we will get into the nuts and bolts, or rather roots and branches, of how they are applied in real-world contexts.